The moment I woke up in the hospital bed, my mother's face was covered in blood, screaming hysterically. Over and over, she asked the same question. Are you an An? Is that you, an An? I could only cry silently, unable to give her any answer. Later, much later, she stripped me naked and told me to get out, to never come back. I stepped outside in my underwear. She chased after me, her eyes filled with unconcealable venom. She said, Ning Yi, why wasn't it you who died back then? My name is Ning Yi. I have a twin sister named Ning An. But when we were 14, Ning An passed away, killed in a devastating car crash. Our whole family was. I watched Ning An, sitting right next to me, fly into the air, smash through the front windshield, then land several meters away, hitting the ground hard. I struggled out of the car and stumbled toward her. Blood from the corner of my eye blurred my vision. When I reached out to touch them, I felt several broken ribs piercing through her skin. I didn't know where to press. I was so scared I forgot how to cry. An, hold on. The ambulance will be here soon. You'll be okay. Suddenly she lifted her blood-stained hand and gently touched my cheek. I collapsed by the roadside, holding her. Is that you, An? My head was spinning, but I could hear her clearly. Her head was wrapped in thick bandages, the corners of her mouth and her cheeks badly swollen. Her eyes were bright, filled with a sorrowful kind of hope. I looked away, not daring to meet her gaze. I truly had no idea what to say to her. I told her I felt dizzy, terribly dizzy, and wanted to throw up. The nurse then chased my mother out of the ward, saying I had a head injury and needed rest. My mother pressed her face against the ward window, staring at me longingly. Tears streamed down her face endlessly, without stopping. She suddenly fell silent, turned to look at me, and gently squeezed my hand. From how hard my mother was crying, I could already guess. But when the nurse finally told me the truth, I still couldn't help crying. The room spun violently. I turned to the side and threw up everywhere. The nurse immediately pressed the button by the bed. The doctor arrived quickly. They gave me a quick check and wheeled me out of the ward. Despite the dizziness, I was still conscious. My head hurt, and my heart ached sharply. My mother was still huddled by the ward door. The moment she saw me, she stood up abruptly, stumbled and nearly fell. She paid no attention, still rushing toward me. An, are you okay? Are you all right? It never once occurred to her that the one who survived might be Ning Yi. Her tearful, hopeful gaze left me unsure how to respond. In that moment, I almost envied Ning An, and even hated myself a little. I thought bitterly. It would have been better if I was the one lying in the cold mortuary. I always knew I was not the child they wanted. Ning An was. She was obedient, quiet and gentle, perfectly matching her name. Her grades were excellent too. Always in the top 10 of her year. A straight-A student. As for me, apart from our nearly identical faces, we had nothing in common. But fate is cruel. It cruelly took Ning An away, leaving useless me Ning Yi. My name became a taboo in the house. My mother never called me Ning Yi again. She insisted on calling me An, as if by doing so, her Ning An would still be alive. She forbade me from keeping short hair. Before my own hair could grow, she quickly bought me a wig. Waist-length straight black hair, exactly Ning An's hairstyle. My loose t-shirts and black trousers were gone from my closet. It was now full of all kinds of dresses, all of which had been Ning An's. I was no longer allowed to run around or laugh loudly. The quiet Ning An would never do such things. I used to have a red mole at the corner of my eye, the only difference between Ning An and me. But in the crash, shattered glass cut my face, erasing the mole. I used to be much taller than Ning An, but now she was gone, with no one to compare to. I didn't even know if I had grown taller. That car crash took Ning An, and it also took away everything that made me me. Some people are alive, but already dead. Some people are dead, but still live on. Sometimes I felt dazed, unable to tell who had really died in that accident. Truthfully, if it would make my parents happy, I would have been willing to play Ning An, but I knew I didn't deserve to. My mother knew that too. She used to say I wasn't even fit to clean Ning An's shoes. Now she kept trying to forget it. After I left the hospital, she lied to the school, saying I was Ning An, and forced me into her elite class. Sitting in that classroom, looking through Ning An's neat notes, I felt dazed for a moment, as if I really could pretend to be her. But on the first day of real class, I found myself just sitting there blankly, understanding nothing. I could pretend to be quiet and obedient. I could wear Ning An's clothes, carry her school bag, sit in her seat, and pretend that the useless Ning Yi was the one who died. But I could never get the grades Ning An had. When we were 7, my mother took us for an IQ test. The result made her very proud. Ning An's IQ was 127, well above average. Of course, her pride had nothing to do with me. Mine was a pitiful 89, 1 point below the passing line. I wasn't as smart as Ning An. It was in my genes. Our lives had been clearly mapped out by mother when we were 7. As for me, I just needed to find a job, like beauty, hairdressing or nail art, something to make a living. Ning An and I lived completely different lives. I was too stupid. Mother didn't have the patience to teach me. Ning An was too smart. Mother couldn't teach her either, so she hired tutors for us. At first, we studied together, but I couldn't understand the Olympiad math problems at all. I couldn't memorize English words. I kept dozing off in class. Afraid I would disturb Ning and mother stopped letting me join. Later, she simply ignored me, putting all her attention on Ning An. I was truly grateful for that wise decision. Every day after school, I would finish my homework carelessly and rush downstairs. I ran wild in the neighborhood, playing hide and seek and fighting with the boys. Meanwhile, Ning An stayed in her study, doing endless exercises. I would come home sweaty and out of breath. Ning An had long finished her homework, reading Dream of the Red Chamber with great interest. We were 12 then, both of us. Born into the same family, with the same face, yet living completely different lives. Our parents were caught off guard. Mother poured all her expectations for Ning An onto me. She never considered that a child who only knew how to grow taller could never bear that weight. I told father how I felt. He just shook his head and sighed. Mother said I was lazy, only knew how to eat, like a pig. True. There was one thing I was definitely better at than Ning An. My appetite. They held Ning An's hand and praised her non-stop. How pretty she'd grown. How she was first in class again. So obedient, so well-behaved. They chatted on for ages before remembering I existed. Grandpa seemed to have run out of compliments. He stared at me for a moment, then laughed awkwardly. Yi has grown taller again. Growing taller was my only redeeming quality. My only advantage over Ning An. They used to praise me for eating well and having a good appetite. Now they called me a glutton, a rice bucket. No matter how well I pretended, exam scores didn't lie. I couldn't get the brilliant grades Ning An had. Not without cheating. But cheating always gets found out. On the day the school's disciplinary notice arrived, mother cornered me and beat me hard with a brush. I curled up into a ball, unable to even beg for mercy. Before, whenever I was beaten, Ning An always stood in front of me. But now she was gone. Father tried to protect me, but one look from mother made him back down. She cried hysterically, slapping herself as she spoke. You killed my An. All of you killed her. Father's eyes were filled with pain. He sank into the sofa and said nothing more. Father had been driving the day of the crash. Mid-journey, a tire suddenly blew. The car spun out of control and flipped into a ditch by the road. The police said it was an accident, but mother didn't believe it. She firmly believed father had killed Ning An after the beating. I quietly returned to my room. This had been Ning An's and my room, with a bunk bed. I slept on the top bunk, Ning An on the bottom. But the top bunk had never really been used. Until the day before she died, we still slept together in the same bed. Now I was alone in this room. Under the glass on Ning An's desk lay a test paper torn, and then glued back together. The bright red 62 on it seemed to be laughing at me. That time, Ning An had cried over a bad score. I came home cheerfully with a 62. Mother was holding Ning An, comforting her. The second she saw my paper, she exploded. Ning Yi, what do you do all day at school? Just fool around? Do you even have a brain? How can you smile after scoring this low? Are you shameless? Angrier by the second, she snatched my paper, tore it up, threw it in my face, then grabbed a brush and hit me. Ning An immediately stopped crying. I watched her quickly crumple her own paper, throw it in the bin, then stand in front of me, arms spread wide. Her small body shielded me completely. Mum, don't be angry. Yi just had a bad day. She'd do better next time. As if she's as stupid as a pig. Mother threw the brush aside angrily, glared at me, then called father to complain. That night, mother refused to let me eat. She said eating too much had clogged my brain, and hunger would clear my head. It was Ning An who secretly went out and bought me a bread roll. She was worried I'd starve, but she needn't have been. For someone like me, if I was bad at studying and still bad at eating and having fun, I'd really be an idiot. So, while Ning An snuck back into the room with the bread, I was already chewing happily on a sausage I'd hidden away. Ning An touched my back. Yi, does it still hurt? I ate the bread she'd bought me with the sausage, already forgetting the afternoon's beating. She watched me eat for a while, then asked hesitantly, Yi, you don't blame me, do you? Her voice was soft, tentative and scared, her big round eyes fixed on me. Why would I blame her? I was the stupid one who failed the exam. It had nothing to do with her. Even without her, I still would have failed. I never really understood why mother was so angry. She'd known I was stupid for ages. I thought she'd already accepted it. Ning An held up her glued-together paper and smiled at me. Yi, you improved. 5 points higher than last time. You even passed. Ning An was so kind. She still remembered my old scores. Those embarrassing marks only shamed mother. Father and her never wanted to attend my parents' meetings. But Ning An always remembered. She never thought I was stupid. When mother lost patience, she often helped me with my homework. I felt embarrassed by her praise and grinned foolishly at her. My teacher had praised me too, saying I'd moved up 5 places. But mother didn't care. I picked Ning An's paper out of the bin and kept it in my school bag. She'd scored 95, but thought she could have gotten 100. I could never understand Ning An's worries. If I could get that score, I'd change my name to Ning Pig. 3. I thought mother had gone mad. She argued with father non-stop, smashing things around the house. Father was so scared he didn't dare come home, staying at his office every day. But I had nowhere to go. Every day I went home with my school bag to be scolded, and sometimes beaten. Mother grew more and more twisted. She hated how much I looked like Ning An, with the identical face. Yet she also hated that I wasn't like her, that I couldn't get the grades to make her proud. I'd been raised freely. Suddenly being under her spotlight made me deeply uncomfortable. She began filling my head with slogans like, "Where there's a will, there's a way," desperately trying to push me into a key high school. But it was unrealistic. I knew it, and she knew it too. One night, I half woke to see someone standing by my bed and jolted awake. Before bed that night, I had played a spirit summoning game. My best friend Lin Xiao told me that if I drew messy charms with fresh blood at midnight, I could talk to the dead. I missed Ning An so badly. So badly. I cut my wrist and drew on the paper over and over. But Ning An never came. I looked up every method to see ghosts and tried them all, but nothing worked. Thinking the figure by my bed was Ning An, I sat up straight, only to find it was mother. Without a word, she took a pair of scissors and cut off all my hair. The long hair I'd grown since Ning An died. She pulled at my hair, cutting it roughly. As she cut, she cursed and cried. She said, "Who do you think you are, copying her? You're as stupid as a pig." For a moment, I almost hoped she would lose control and stab me to death. But she didn't. The scissors only cut my hair, not hurting my skin at all. After venting, she threw the scissors on the floor and left, looking lost. On my desk lay in a full paper, completely soaked in blood. But mother didn't even glance at it. On the bed where Ning and I had slept, only I remained, surrounded by strands of hair. I missed Ning An so much I thought I would go crazy. I wanted to hug mother and tell her I missed Ning An too, that I wished I could die in her place. But I said nothing. I sat alone on the messy bed, awake all night. The next morning after breakfast I went to school with my messy chopped hair. Mother drove me. She said nothing along the way, only handed me a new wig before I got out. Still straight black long hair. One loved drawing. I never took it seriously before, but now everything was different. With Ning An gone, I was the only child left. The burden of university, postgraduate study, and PhD fell on me. My parents had no choice but to take my studies seriously. After thinking it over, they decided to let me learn a specialty. I was good at drawing. Several teachers in the art studio praised my talent repeatedly. Mother just rolled her eyes and sneered, making the teachers uncomfortable. But I wasn't Ning An. If I only relied on academic scores, I might not even get into high school. On the day the high school entrance exam results came out, I was excited. With art as my specialty, I could get into a good high school. But I was being too optimistic. Mother never wanted a better Ning Yi. She wanted the originally excellent Ning An, or a Ning Yi who was as good as Ning An. Mother wanted me to go to one high school, the best in the city. If Ning An had been alive, she would have been recommended directly. But I couldn't. Even with art, my academic scores were still over 100 points short. Mother didn't let me fill out my application form, just like Ning An would have. But I never received the admission notice. Lin Jiaoxiao had already started school. I stayed in my study, drawing Ning An and myself. I used to be energetic and playful. Now I was quiet and obedient. I no longer knew if I was Ning An or Ning Yi. By National Day, Lin Jiaoxiao had been in school for a month. My notice still hadn't arrived. Then suddenly the police came to our door. Only then did Mother realize she had been scammed. She stamped her feet in anger. Father shouted at her, calling her crazy for ruining my future. They argued louder and louder, about to fight. I quickly stepped between them and pulled them apart. Mother slapped me hard across the face. It's all because you're useless. If you'd done better, would I have begged everyone for a school? Would I have met a scammer? That slap was hard. I was stunned, unable to react for a long time. But I never wanted to go to one high school in the first place. I always knew I was Ning Yi. I could never get into one high school. Not in a million years. They knew that too. But they kept pretending to forget. When all the leaves in the yard had fallen, Father pushed open my bedroom door. I was still sitting quietly at my desk drawing. Ning An used to say I was impatient, unable to settle down. Now she was gone. I wore her hairstyle, her clothes, sat at her desk, and could sit quietly all day. Father told me 2 things. First, I had no school to go to anymore. I would have to retake the exam. Second, he planned to divorce Mother. Hearing him say it didn't surprise me, but the second left me unable to accept it for a moment. I looked up blankly at him, not knowing what to say. In the year since Ning An left, he had either been on business trips or living at his office. I hadn't seen him much. Only now did I realize how much he had aged. I turned away, not wanting to look. My pencil drew aimless circles on the paper. Dad, now that Ning An is gone, are you leaving us too? Father burst into tears. A grown man, sitting on my bed, crying like a child. Yi, your mother has lost her mind. I can't live like this anymore. Come with me? Mother insisted Father had killed Ning An since he was driving. And I was an accomplice. It had been my idea to go camping. They hadn't wanted to go at first. Ning An had begged them for a long time. Dad, who gets this house? I want to keep living in this room. This is where Ning An stayed. Father cried for a while, wiped his tears, stood up, hugged me briefly, then left silently. I put down my brush and sat in the quiet room, stunned for a long time. My family had always been broken. Mother was competitive, always wanting to be better than others. Father was soft-spoken, even cowardly. The obedient Ning An had always calmed Mother before her storms broke out. Ning An was the protector for Father and me. She was like strong glue, holding this family together. After Ning An left, I tried to take her place. But I overestimated myself. Even if I became obedient and studied hard, what difference did it make? I would always be Ning Yi. I could never become another Ning An. I didn't care whether I lived with Father or Mother. I only missed Ning An. She was my real protector. The house was given to Mother. If I wanted to keep this room, I had to stay with her. On the day Father left home, Mother sat still all day, not speaking, not eating. I bought her a cat. Her heart was in pain too. Maybe a small animal would help. The moment I placed the fluffy kitten in her hands, Mother's eyebrows twitched as if a faint smile appeared. She stroked the cat in her arms and said softly, "Don't you have bad rhinitis? Is it okay to have a cat at home?" I had severe rhinitis, especially bad every summer. I was mopping the floor. Hearing her words, I almost cried for no reason. She finally remembered I was Ning Yi, not Ning An. But the next second, she suddenly threw the cat at me. I flinched and caught it quickly. The frightened cat meowed loudly. "Mom." I froze, unsure what I'd done wrong this time. "If you hadn't told Anne to get out for tissues, she wouldn't have died." She screamed and lunged at me, pinching me. "You killed her. Don't think I forgot. You were just jealous of her. Jealous of my Anne." She hit me and cried until she was exhausted, then lay on the sofa without a word. I said nothing either. No more tears left. I killed Ning An. I had never dared to face that. On that day, my rhinitis suddenly flared up. Halfway, Ning An got out to buy me tissues. When she came back, she forgot to fasten her seatbelt. She was always careless about it. I always reminded her. But that day, I was too busy dealing with my runny nose to remember. She didn't put her seatbelt on again. I thought about it over and over. If I hadn't asked her to get tissues, she wouldn't have gotten out. She wouldn't have died. The crash was an accident. It had been a heavy weight on my chest, suffocating me. Now Mother had ripped it open without mercy. I didn't even have tears left. I went back to the room that had been Ning An's and mine, facing the huge emptiness, remembering Ning An's smile. Shortly before Ning An died, our school had held an exam. I scored only 9 points. That score completely broke Mother. She grabbed my arm, ready to take me to the hospital to have my brain checked. Even Father didn't dare stop her. Once again, Ning An stopped Mother. She pulled hard on Mother's arm, dragging her back, her slipper slipping down to her ankle. Seeing her crying bitterly, Mother let go of me, but still slapped me several times. Ning An struggled to pull her slipper back on. She took the terrified me back to our room, took safflower oil from the medicine box and gently rubbed my wounds. As she applied it, she started crying again. She said, Yi, don't blame Mom. She's just worried." Seeing her cry, I wanted to too, but I didn't dare. If I cried, Mother would say, "How dare you cry after scoring that badly?" I wiped the tears from Ning An's eyes with my hand. Anne, you should have shown Mom your paper. If she saw how well you did, maybe she wouldn't be so angry. Your paper needs a parent's signature too. You don't have to hide it all the time. That time, she hadn't brought her paper home. She said she hadn't done well. But she was Ning An. How could she not do well? Ning An finished applying the medicine and gently pulled me into her arms. Yi, it's okay. 1 more point and you'll have double digits. 100 is only 3 digits. You can do it. I was Ning Yi, stupid as a pig in Mother's eyes. She was Ning An, the kindest and gentlest person in the world to me. But I couldn't save her. I was going to retake the year. Since public schools did not accept retaking students, I had to choose a private one. It was a fully boarding school. I left home with my school bag and drawing board. My mother was sitting on the sofa. The TV was loud, noisy. I knew she wasn't watching at all. I said, "Mom, I'm leaving." She didn't look at me, not even lifting her eyelids. "Go on, go. All of you go." She spoke quickly, her tone still fierce, but her voice cracked slightly at the end. I wanted to hug her, but after thinking twice, I only gently held her hand. That year living on campus, I was truly happy. When I wasn't in academic classes, I stayed in the art room all day, drawing non-stop. A few times I even forgot to eat. One weekend, I lied that I had extra classes and didn't go home. I sat alone in the empty art room and drew 32 sketches. All of them were of Ning An. She sometimes appeared in my dreams. But in my dreams, she never wore dresses, and her hair was always strange colors. She would always ask me to take her out, begging me to buy snacks. It was strange. She had good grades and won scholarships every year, and Mother always gave her rewards. She always stayed indoors reading, hardly ever going out. All her pocket money went to me. I still couldn't do well in academic subjects, but the art teachers kept praising me, saying I had real talent. The hallway was covered with my work. On every piece, I carefully signed my name, Ning Yi. I repeated to myself over and over, "I am Ning Yi. My name is Ning Yi." During my retake year, I really tried my hardest. But stories of underdogs rising up only existed in novels. All my sleepless, hungry efforts still didn't get me into No. 1 high school. In the end, I went to No. 12 high school, the same school as Lin Xiao, only 1 year below her. On the first day, Jacques Xiao grabbed me and insisted I call her senior. I was so annoyed I punched her playfully. She laughed and took me to the cafeteria, even buying me milk tea. Ning Yi, why did you insist on retaking a year? If you'd applied here the first time, you'd be a sophomore like me now. She was right. My grades would have gotten me in the first year. I lowered my head and drank my milk tea silently, not wanting to talk. Zhao Xiao sighed. Don't get mad. But I think your mum. She paused, tapping her own head. Ning Yi, you used to be so lively and cheerful, always laughing and running around. You'd yell in the hallway, and the head teacher would rush down from the 3rd floor to pull your ear. Okay, that wasn't really something to brag about. Look at you now, frowning all day, like you owe someone 5 million and can't pay it back. I never mixed you up with your sister before. But now, I really can't tell you apart. She sighed and looked me up and down. Why don't you live on campus with me? The idea immediately appealed to me, but I didn't think Mother would agree. The memory of her hysterical breakdown still scared me. I was afraid she'd smash the house again. But I told her anyway. I sacrifice so much for this family every day. And all of you just want to leave. Abandon me. Do you have any conscience? Did your consciences get eaten by dogs? How much have I given for this family? You ungrateful brats. She cried and pinched me hard. I still didn't dodge, but this time I truly felt fed up. Mum, if you feel wronged, you don't have to take care of me anymore. I can ask Dad for living expenses. What's that supposed to mean? Grown wings now? Think I'm useless? What are you trying to do? I didn't think she was useless. I just didn't want to owe her anymore. Every meal she cooked had a price tag, and it would turn into a dagger, stabbing deep in your heart. I didn't dislike her. I just wanted some peace. As I packed my things, she cursed me nonstop. When I finished putting my clothes in the suitcase, she grabbed the whole thing and threw it into the trash bin downstairs. She stood by the bin, staring at me fiercely. I hesitated for a long time, then left with just my school bag. As I left, she was still swearing at me, using such filthy, vulgar words I couldn't repeat them. I felt unsure earlier, but hearing her like that, I walked faster. I hardened my heart and got on the bus to school. After moving into the dorm, I only went home about once a month. Not having to go home often felt wonderful. In half a year, Mother only gave me living expenses once. I knew she wanted me to beg her for it, but I refused to suffer her humiliation anymore. If she didn't give it, I wouldn't ask. Luckily, I could draw. On Lin Jiaxiu's suggestion, I started taking commissions online, drawing for people. I got 3 or 4 orders a month. It wasn't much, but since I lived on campus and had few expenses, it was more than enough to treat classmates to milk tea or meals sometimes. This little freedom made me incredibly happy. Mother said I'd grown wings. She wasn't entirely wrong. I spent my 17th birthday with Lin Jiaxiao. She insisted on taking me to a bar, booking a small private room. We partied noisily all night. It was my first time in a bar. She made me drink a lot, and I felt dizzy. She got drunk too and handed me over to a boy. I thought he'd take me home, but he was also drunk and muddledly booked a room at the bar. He helped me stumble into the room. I was woken up by Mother slapping me, but when I looked down, I was still on the floor, fully clothed. The boy who Dee brought me was lying on the floor on the other side of the bed, still unconscious. How could you be so shameless? Running off to a hotel with someone at your age? You're so cheap. After slapping me several times, Mother started screaming insults. The police and teachers quickly pulled her away. The boy muddledly opened his eyes, jumped awake when he saw the crowd. We were drunk. Ning Yi couldn't say where she lived, and I didn't dare take her back to school, so I booked a room. We didn't do anything. My face was swollen, but I smiled at him. Thanks. His name was Yang Fan, Zhao Xiao's classmate. Honestly, he would have been better off leaving me on the street. Mother tried to attack him too, but the police stopped her. She struggled wildly, still spewing vulgarities. The fast lasted a full hour before ending. Mother refused to believe it was just a misunderstanding. She insisted I was a whore, making money this way. She said she only trusted her own eyes. But when she burst in, both of us were clearly sleeping on the floor. She wasn't trusting her eyes. She was trusting her own imagination. She insisted I stop living on campus and made a huge scene at school. Teachers and classmates dreaded the sight of her, and their glances toward me turned strange. I didn't want to go home, so I hid in internet cafes. In small booths filled with smoke and instant noodle smells, I kept drawing. Whenever Mother couldn't find me, she called the police, saying I was missing. After so many times, even the local police were afraid of her. My 17th year slipped away in this cat-and-mouse game with Mother. I skipped classes most of the time, barely attending any lessons. I must have turned bad. I couldn't even dream of Ning An anymore. Maybe even she was disgusted with me. Luckily, I never gave up drawing. Shortly after senior year started, my father, who'd been gone for ages, suddenly appeared. He offered to pay for my art-intensive training. With his help, I went to Dalukyo in Beijing. Unfortunately, Mother found out where I was studying art, and I couldn't stay there anymore. I had to return to my city and join a random institute for training. I was new. I didn't know anyone at this art studio, and because of my personality, I didn't make friends. Only Yu Kian, my dorm mate, was close to me. She was outgoing and looked after me, both in public and private. One day I walked past the storage room next to the studio and suddenly heard her talking to the sketch teacher. Said she's really disorderly, always going out with boys. And I didn't listen to the rest. I turned and left. The scene was so familiar. I'd been doing well at Dalukyo. The teacher said I had a real chance of ranking top 3 in the institute. I couldn't explain. No one would believe me. Who could believe a mother would keep spreading dirty rumors about her own daughter? Who could believe that? I thought Mother wasn't just crazy. She was downright twisted. I stormed home angrily. When I pushed open the bedroom door, Mother was sitting in the room that had been Ning An's and mine, staring at our photos. When she looked up and saw me, her face immediately darkened. "You still remember to come home? I thought you died outside." I stared at her fiercely, filled with the urge to fight her. "Why? Why would you do this?" She only froze for a moment, then slammed the photo down on the desk. "Are you insane? Gone months and come back throwing a fit? What do you think you're doing? Going to eat me? I'm your mother." "I know you're my mother. That's why I'm only asking why you did this. Why spread rumors about me? I already couldn't stay at the institute in Beijing because of you. Why won't you just leave me alone?" I hit the table so hard it shook, shattering the glass mat under Ning An's things. "When did I spread rumors about you? You hang around with those no-good people all day. What good could you be up to? I haven't given you living expenses in months, and you didn't ask your dad for them either. Where did you get the money?" She spoke with such righteous confidence that I actually laughed. "So you do remember you haven't given me money? You just never mention it. You were just waiting for me to turn bad so you could gloat, weren't you? Yeah, I'm not good. But don't forget, I'm your daughter. If I'm like this, how great can you be?" "Shut up." Her face turned bright red. She raised her hand to slap me, but I grabbed her wrist. I squeezed slightly, and she fell back onto the bed. You ungrateful child." She widened her eyes and lunged at me, trying to hit and scratch. Before she could explode, I rushed into the living room and grabbed the vase, cups, and thermos from the table. Anything I could reach, I smashed onto the floor. She had never seen me like this. She stood frozen in the doorway, motionless for a long time. When I'd broken everything I could, I leaned lazily against the sofa and stared at Mother challengingly. In the past, after she threw her fit and left the mess, Father and I would clean it up together. We'd be careful, not saying a word. Later, Father left and I dealt with the chaos alone. Back then, no one spoke to me. Now, she finally got to taste this feeling. My heart felt light and free. "Ning Yi, are you crazy? Have you completely lost it?" She finally called my name. She finally remembered I was Ning Yi. But her tone was full of disgust, her eyes poisoned with hatred. It was sad, the way Mother and daughter had ended up. "I really don't know what unforgivable thing I did to deserve being your daughter." "Shut up. You're a whore. You're nothing compared to an Anne. You'll never be as good as her." Living, Ning An had been her medicine, her comfort. Dead, Ning An had become a swamp she couldn't climb out of, and she wanted to drag me down with her. So what if I'm not as good? Look at me clearly. Ning An is dead. No matter how perfect she was, she's dead. Dad left because of you too. Now all you have left is this useless Ning Yi. The Ning Yi you call a whore. After yelling those words, my throat was completely hoarse. Tears burst from my eyes. Get out. She flung the door open and pushed me out like a madwoman. All the lights in the hallway turned on. I broke free from her grip and glared at her. Like I'd want to stay in this house anyway. I grabbed my bag and stormed out the gate. The endless night surrounded me at once. It was very late. The streets were empty except for passing cars. I planned to stay out for the night and take the bus back to the institute the next morning. Now I'd been kicked out. There were no buses, and I truly had nowhere to go. I could take a taxi, about 50 yuan from home to the institute, but I hated to spend it. Or I could call Lin Jiaxiao. But once, when Mother was looking for me, she'd barged rudely into Jiaxiao's house. Her parents had been furious. I was too ashamed to contact her again. I sat on the empty street corner, thinking it was ridiculously funny. Look at this. My mother, always terrified I'd turn bad, yet kicking me out in the middle of the night, leaving me like a stray dog. I thought I almost owed it to her to live down to her predictions. I checked my pocket and my phone. I had a little over 200 yuan. Only about 10 days until the end of the month. It would just manage. Sitting on the roadside wasn't safe. I decided to stay in an internet cafe for the night. Only 30 yuan, much cheaper than a hotel. But the all-night rate only started after 1 a.m. I still had an hour, so I decided to find somewhere to eat first. Near midnight, the only restaurant I could afford was a 24-hour beef noodle shop. I went in, sat down and ordered. As I was about to pay, someone tapped my shoulder. Ning Yi, what are you doing here? He said my name like he knew me. But I had no memory of him at all. I felt awkward. It's me. You forgot, Zhao Xiao's classmate. He looked at me expectantly, but I still couldn't place him. Yang Fan. The name jumped into my head. My eyelid twitched. The image of Mother marching in with a crowd to catch me in the act flashed back instantly. About that time. I'm really sorry for the trouble. I was mortified. Yang Fan insisted on paying for me, ordered several side dishes, grabbed 2 drinks and pulled me into a corner. It's my classmate's birthday. We just drank a bit. My stomach's upset, so I came for beef noodles. Never thought I'd run into you here. I got into the normal university. Jiaoxiao's too ambitious, insisted on Fuden, so she's retaking. You must be senior year now, right? Are you still drawing? Your art is really good. The school gallery was full of your paintings. I love them. When senior year stress got bad, I'd go look at your work. I always wondered what kind of person could draw something so beautiful. He talked a lot. I didn't even ask, and he just kept going. Eat. Your noodles are getting cold. Yang Fan blushed slightly. Sorry, haven't seen you in so long. I got a bit excited. He opened the drink for me and put some side dishes in my bowl. This overly attentive kindness made me uncomfortable. Yang Fan, have you heard the things people say about me? I finished eating quickly, sat up straight, and looked at him. I've heard some things. His voice was soft. He looked firmly at me. Back then, I wanted to find you. If you've heard some, you probably know everything. Then you should also know my nickname, Beef Noodle Girl. Yang Fan's eyes widened. Ning Yi, I don't believe any of it. I know you're not that kind of person. What if I am? I stared into his eyes. His face immediately fell, and he didn't know how to reply. We'd only met a few times. We weren't close. Treating me to noodles and drinks in the middle of the night. His intentions weren't pure. I really didn't need to play dumb. I ignored him. Placed the money for the noodles and 2 drinks on the table. The drinks are on me. Don't mention it. Then I walked out of the restaurant. My nickname was Beef Noodle Girl, meaning I could be taken home for the night for just 1 bowl of beef noodles. I threw the bottles in the trash and thought to myself, my mother really is a genius. I stayed in the internet cafe for the night. Early the next morning, Yu Qian called. Because of the pandemic, in-person classes at the institute were suspended. We had to take online lessons. She packed my drawing board and textbooks and asked where to send them. I was furious. I'd just been kicked out the day before. Going back now would only mean more insults. But I couldn't stay in the internet cafe forever. I couldn't afford it. After hesitating, I asked her to send everything downstairs. I swallowed my pride and went home. Luckily, Mother wasn't there. I didn't even change my shoes, dragged my luggage into the bedroom, and locked the door immediately. I put on headphones for my online class, trying not to make a sound. That night, when I went out to find food, she saw me and started screaming again. But I was completely immune. I felt like I was about to become immortal. I had completely transformed. Inside and out, I no longer had anything to do with Ning An, nor was I the old Ning Yi. Because just now, I'd fought my mother. I scored 197 in my academic exams. It was low, I admitted. The teacher was going over the papers when Mother suddenly rushed in, tore the paper to pieces and cursed, raising her hand to slap me. I don't know where I got the strength, but I pushed her onto the bed. All these years, she'd hit me, cursed me. I never imagined I could pin her down. She couldn't move. She turned her head and bit my wrist hard. It hurt badly, but I didn't cry out or let go. She bit for a long time. When she saw I wasn't letting go, she started whimpering and crying. Only then did I stand up and release her. It had happened so fast I hadn't closed the video call. The group chat was exploding. Sister Ning, you're awesome. Sister Ning, so cool. Sister Ning, you go. Amid the cheers was obvious mockery. I stared at the noisy class group, a wave of sadness suddenly rising. I left the group and never wanted to go back. Fine. My academic grades were probably beyond saving. Luckily, I still had art. It was my pride. If I did well in the professional exams, I still had a chance. My color teacher once said I could easily rank in the top 10 in the province. But I forgot I had an extraordinary mother, with endless surprises waiting for me. After that fight, she never dared to hit me again. She switched to pure verbal attacks. The things she called me got worse and worse. I didn't even know where she learned those words. Just thinking about them made me sick. Yet she could say them without changing her expression. I thought she was truly appalling. Because of the pandemic, many university art exams moved online. We had to turn on cameras and finish several works within a time limit. I told her I had an exam, closed the door and started drawing. Mother suddenly snapped again. She complained I'd closed the door and burst right in. I was already drawing and couldn't speak. I could only beg her with my eyes to leave. She clearly saw the camera in front of me, yet still walked right in front of it. I saw half her body appear on camera. I felt my blood boil, wanting to fight her immediately. Synopsis Academy of Fine Arts. You'll never get in. Why pretend? Acting like you're something. She mumbled that on her way out. I didn't know if the camera picked up her voice, but my mindset completely collapsed. She did it on purpose. She truly thought I could never get into Synopsis. I knew my academics were weak, but passing the professional exam meant so much to me. It was the thing I was most proud of. Why couldn't she even leave me that small comfort? I suppressed my anger and finished all the paintings, packing them according to the school's address. Before I even taped the roll closed, the system flagged me for cheating. Unrelated people and voices had appeared during the exam. I tore the half-packed paintings to shreds. My whole body trembled afterward. She still thought I was overreacting, but I'd never get in anyway, just wasting time. I couldn't stay in this house any longer. I'd rather be homeless than stay another second with her. I went back to my room and packed again. As I was leaving, I remembered I needed notebooks and turned back. Besides buying books, Ning An loved buying notebooks. Her desk drawer was full of new ones. I picked two at random, then found a third one underneath, old and used. I pulled it out. It was Ning An's diary. After only reading 2 pages, I couldn't stop crying. It turned out that even the obedient, well-behaved, smart, hard-working Ning An had not been happy at all. I sat in my room with Ning An's diary for the whole afternoon. This room had been hers and mine. It still felt like she was here. Scraps of paper from math exercises, a few childish lines of poetry, an ugly cloth doll from art class. All of these belonged to Ning An. Only her thick stack of awards was gone. After Ning An left, Mother had locked them away in her own room. So her love for Ning An hadn't been unconditional after all. She only loved Ning An for being obedient, sensible, and perfect. Ning An had been her flawless masterpiece. She could not accept any flaw in her. A cruel thought suddenly struck me. This woman didn't love anyone. She only enjoyed the sense of superiority that Ning An's obedience and excellence brought her. The person she loved most was always herself. My poor Ning An. I'd always thought she was naturally quiet. I never knew she'd been forced into it. She had driven Ning An to her death, and now she wanted to turn me into a second Ning An, even if it meant destroying me completely. I would not let her have her way. A woman like her did not deserve to be Ning An's mother. When she called me for dinner, I was still packing. She said she'd braised my favorite spare ribs. She was trying to make up with me for ruining my exam. As if I'd ever liked her cooking. It was disgusting. But if I refused, she would scream that I was ungrateful for hours. I was tired of pretending. I stuffed a few of Ning An's favorite books into my bag. I looked down and stabbed at her. The food you make wouldn't even be eaten by a dog. It's that terrible. I was just too polite to tell you before. Her face darkened. She kicked the door hard and started screaming. She was almost 50, but her temper hadn't weakened at all. If I didn't shut her up, she could rant for the entire afternoon. I didn't look at her or reply. She must have grown bored. She sat on the sofa cursing for a while longer, then fell silent. Father had been right, after all. An argument takes two people. If you ignore her completely, she lose interest and stop. That was how he dealt with her all those years. Even when she insulted his parents, he just sat there, silent as a corpse. But even he couldn't stand it in the end. When she finally quieted down, I finished packing and took one last look at the room. I fought with Mother many times, run away from home countless times. Even when I'd said I'd never come back, I always did. Before I was 14, this had been the only place that made me feel safe. But after Ning An died, going home had become torture. Now everything was different. I finally knew Ning An hadn't liked this place either. If that was the case, I would take her away. We would never come back. As I carried my luggage out, I glanced at her one last time. After years of fighting me, she looked noticeably older, sitting there with a slight hunch. But even so, there was no trace of a gentle mother in her face. Bitterness and cruelty, it seemed, were not worn away by time. Only patience was. I'm leaving. I won't come back ever again. I'd run away many times, but most of the time I'd been kicked out. I had no money. My few friends had distanced themselves from me because of her. Outside this door I had nowhere to go. But this time I was leaving for good. Truly and completely. My voice must have been too cold. Her gaze finally settled on me. What nonsense are you spouting now? She glanced at me, her words still vicious. It's just a stupid exam. Are you being this dramatic? Ning An would never act like this. She dared to mention Ning An. What right did she have? Shut up, you bastard. I pushed the door open. She grabbed my luggage. You ungrateful beast. I raised you. And this is how you repay me. Everything you own. I bought it. Everything you eat, wear, use. I provided it all. You treat me like this. You're worse than an animal. Worse than an animal. She'd said that so many times. She wasn't wrong. Everything I wore, everything I used, was chosen by her. She'd always loved doing that. Once I thought it was love. Now I knew it was just control. I left everything you bought in that room. I didn't take a single thing. They're honestly hideous. So ugly it's painful to look at. She started tearing at my clothes. This outfit was bought with my money too. Give back everything I own you. Then get out and never come back. She stripped me down to my underwear and told me to leave forever. Good. That was exactly what I'd been waiting for. I stepped outside in my underwear. She chased after me. Her eyes filled with poisonous hatred. She said, Ning Yi, why wasn't it you who died? I stood in the hallway in my underwear. The windowsill was low. I lifted my long leg and sat on it. I turned back and smiled at her. How about I die right now? Just for you. I gently opened the window. The rising dust made me sneeze. We lived on the 5th floor. If I jumped headfirst, I would probably die. Would she feel sad? If it hurt her, I would enjoy every second of it. I had just stood up when someone lunged from the side. He pulled me down sharply, then quickly took off his coat and wrapped it around me. Ning Yi, don't be stupid. It was Yang Fan. Before I could react, he had stepped in front of me, shielding me completely. Auntie, Ning Yi is your own daughter. Why are you torturing her like this? Why won't you just let her go? Mother stared, stunned. Then, when she realized I wasn't going to jump, a look of understanding crossed her face. She must have thought I was faking it to threaten her. You whore, go on then, jump. After cursing me, she turned and shouted at Yang Fan. I torture her? Why don't you ask how she tortures me? I remember you. You're the boy who was in the hotel room with this whore. See? I was right. You two are together. I told you she was selling herself. She acted as if she'd found proof, growing more and more arrogant. Yang Fan had never met such a shameless person. His eyes widened in shock. I've never seen a mother like you. What are you talking about? What mother says these things about her own child? Anyone would be unlucky to be your daughter. Haha. Finally, someone spoke the truth. One was well known in this building. Whenever Mother and I fought, the neighbors rushed over to mediate, all acting like merciful Guan Yan. She's still your mother. Your mother only wants what's best for you. Do you know how hard it was for her to raise you alone? They repeated the same lines over and over, driving me crazy. Of course she was my mother. Otherwise, with all the lies and insults she spread, I would have grabbed a knife and fought her to the death. But just because she was my mother, did that make all this unreasonable pain acceptable? Why did I have to forgive her? Looking at Yang Fan's side face, I suddenly thought he was incredibly brave. Before he could finish speaking, Mother lunged forward, grabbing and pulling at him. I slipped out from behind him and quickly pushed her hands away. Yang Fan froze for a second, then grabbed my hand and ran. Mother chased after us, screaming. She gave up near the community gate, standing there with her hands on her hips, shouting insults. While Yang Fan stopped a taxi by the road, I turned back. Mother had been about to go inside, but when she saw me return, she flared up again, squawking like an angry rooster. I pulled Ning An's diary from my bag and threw it at her face. This is Ning An's diary. Read it carefully. Tell me who really killed her. At the sound of Ning An's name, Mother calmed down, for just a moment. Then she looked up at me, her eyes still poisonous. Before she could explode, I spoke first. I'm 18. I haven't disappeared. I haven't been kidnapped. I just don't want to see you anymore. If you dare call the police on me again, I'll post everything Ning An wrote in her diary online. I'll let everyone know what a twisted mother you are and how you drove your own daughter to her death. With that, I took one last look at the direction of our home and left without turning back. When I stepped outside, Yang Fan was waiting for me in the taxi. I hesitated for a moment, then got in. Ning Yi, where are you going to go? His voice suddenly stammered. He turned his head away, not looking at me. I looked down. My mind went blank. Mother had torn my skirt earlier. I was only wearing Yang Fan's coat. It was fine standing up, but when I sat down, my entire thigh was exposed. I don't know. Could you take me to Yun Internet Cafe first? I acted calm, quickly pulling my bag over my lap to cover myself. Yang Fan still half turned away. Your clothes. Do you want to change first? No, not yet. Can I borrow your coat for a bit? I'll buy new clothes and give it back to you. There was a small market near the internet cafe, with many street stalls. Things were extremely cheap, about 50 yuan for a full set of clothes. Ning Yi, about your mom. He hesitated. Don't mention her to me. She's not my mother anymore. I didn't want to talk about anything related to that woman. The taxi stopped outside the cafe. I got out and thanked Yang Fan. Thank you for today. I'll pay you back for the taxi fare when I have money. Can I add your WeChat? I'll return your clothes tomorrow. Yang Fan took out his phone immediately. Of course. I sent you several requests before, but you never accepted. Oh, really? I felt slightly embarrassed. I didn't like adding strangers, so he was the one who'd kept sending friend requests. Once he'd left in the taxi, I walked to the market and bought a new outfit. A white t-shirt and black sports pants, only 39 yuan. It was a real bargain. I changed happily and went to the internet cafe. They didn't have laundry detergent, but they had dish soap. It would work just as well. I washed Yang Fan's coat in the bathroom and hung it out the window to dry. After everything that had happened, I was completely exhausted. Early the next morning, before I even woke up, that woman showed up again. This time she wasn't alone. She'd brought my useless father, who'd been gone for ages. I grabbed Yang Fan's coat and my bag, trying to leave. She held on to me tightly. I dragged her all the way out of the cafe. She refused to let go, begging me desperately to forgive her. I stayed completely silent. Then she dropped to her knees and banged her head on the ground. Hard. Blood soon appeared on her forehead. After kowtowing, she started slapping herself, harder and harder. Her mouth soon began to bleed. Ning Yi, Mom knows she was wrong. I really know. Just forgive me. Ning An is already gone. I can't lose you too. Please come home with me. Father stepped forward and held her back, stopping her madness. I tore myself free. With a ripping sound, the leg of my trousers was torn off. I cursed in anger and turned to leave, but Father suddenly spoke. Ning Yi, your mother has done many wrong things, but she realizes her mistake now. Can't you give her one more chance? I turned to look at him, stunned. For as long as I could remember, Father had no voice in this family. He'd been a quiet, invisible shadow. When Mother hit me or cursed me, he didn't say a word, just pretended to read a book. When she lost her temper, she hit him too. He had never taught me anything except to keep quiet and endure. In his whole life, he'd only stood up to her twice. Once when he married her, once when he divorced her. I never expected him to put on a show like this. Mother leaned against his chest, crying so hard she could barely breathe. At first glance, she looked like a weak, helpless mother, heartbroken by her rebellious child. A crowd quickly gathered. Those kind-hearted Guanyan started lecturing me again. Child, look how sad your mother is. There's no problem a family can't fix. Within minutes, someone was already taking out their phone to film. I was so angry I could scream. I hadn't even tried to ruin her reputation, and yet she was making me infamous. If this video was edited out of context and posted online, combined with all the rumors she'd already spread, she was trying to ruin my life completely. All of you, shut the hell up. I ripped off my torn trousers and scanned the crowd. This pitiful woman you see is a complete lunatic. She drove my sister to her death and now she's torturing me. She spreads lies about me everywhere, calls me a whore, says I'll sleep with anyone for a bowl of beef noodles. She stripped me naked and kicked me out of the house. I'm not even 18 yet. What unforgivable thing did I do to deserve this? Hurt is hurt. It doesn't stop hurting just because it's family. I will never forgive you. Not for the rest of my life. I used every last bit of strength to yell those words. I turned around. Yang Fan was standing behind me. He pulled me into his arms and held me gently, then took my hand and walked away without looking back. Mother's heartbroken screams continued behind us. My legs felt weak. A strange sense of relief mixed with indescribable frustration flooded me. Yang Fan covered my ears. Ning Yi, don't listen. Don't look back. Just keep walking forward. I'll be right beside you. My name is Yang Fan. There's a girl I've liked for a long time. Her name is Ning Yi. That day outside the internet cafe, I took her away. All her strength seemed to have left her. She leaned against me like an injured cat. She was lost, unsure where to go. I told her I had an empty apartment. I could let her stay there temporarily. I was terrified she would refuse. She had always been cold to me, only remembering me as Lin Xiaoxiu's classmate. To be precise, she was cold to all boys. One extra word, and rumors would start. Who would have thought the person starting those rumors was her own mother? But she had just broken ties with her parents. She probably had no better choice. She hesitated for a moment, then came home with me. When we arrived, she was cautious, her eyes full of wariness. I made an excuse to go out and buy some things. When I returned with food, she had already showered and changed. For a second, we both felt awkward when our eyes met. She was still wearing the trousers her mother had torn. She'd cut the right leg open, making it look almost like a design. It suited her. When I came out of the kitchen with bowls and chopsticks, she pushed a simple rental agreement toward me. She said she wouldn't stay for free. She wanted to rent a room. I could set the price. She blushed and said she would owe the rent first, paying me once she found a job. I hadn't wanted her money, but thinking about how she'd reacted when I bought her dinner last time, I agreed. She was proud and sensitive, always afraid people would look down on her. I signed the agreement. She took her things and went into the bedroom, not coming out again. She was so quiet. She chose the second bedroom, leaving the sunny master bedroom empty. I remembered what Lin Zhaoxiao once told me. She said, "Ning Yi is a good girl. She just wasn't born into the right family." She stayed in her room for most of the day and went out job hunting in the afternoon. I offered to go with her. She refused. When she came back that night, she hesitated and told me she didn't need the apartment anymore. She'd found a job. Hotel receptionist, room and board included, 3,000 yuan a month. She said she was willing to pay 500 yuan for the few days she'd stayed, but only after she got her first salary. I said, "Don't worry about it. Friends help each other." She smiled and said, "No, really. You shouldn't get involved with me. Everyone who does gets unlucky." She smiled brightly, then turned to pack her things. There wasn't much to pack anyway. She only had one bag. Her drawing board, which she'd never let go of, was gone. No brushes, no paints. Just a dirty, worn bag. The bag was big. She was small. It was mostly empty. She waved goodbye. I pulled her back. She must have been shocked. She stared at me angrily. I cried. I cried like a coward. I said, "Ning Yi, where's your drawing board?" She looked into my eyes and forced a smile. She reached up and wiped the tears from my eyes. "I lost it. I'll never get it back." I looked into her clear eyes and couldn't say a word. This was the girl I'd liked for so long, ever since I first saw her paintings in the school gallery. She had incredible talent. She worked so hard. All the teachers said so. She'd been their pride. We'd all been waiting for her to become a great artist. She'd only been 15 then, bright and lively, her eyes shining like stars. Now she wasn't even 18 yet. Her drawing board was gone. She said she'd never get it back. I pushed her down onto the sofa and showed her something. It was a painting. A girl with wings, flying toward the sky. In her left hand, a bag of snacks. In her right, an ice cream, about to take a bite. It was Ning Yi's painting, from when she was 15. I'd secretly taken it from the gallery wall and framed it. I knelt in front of her, placed the painting in her hands. She flinched as if burned and threw it away. I picked it up and put it back in her hands, holding hers tightly. She struggled for a long time, hitting me over and over, but I wouldn't let go. Eventually, she leaned against my shoulder and cried. At first, it was quiet, like a wounded animal licking its wounds alone. Then her sobs grew louder. She buried her face in my chest, her whole body shaking. I stroked her hair gently, over and over. "Ning Yi, it's okay. If you can't find it, we don't have to. I'll buy you a new one. We'll get everything new. My name is Ning An." I was the perfect child in Mother's eyes. But secretly I'd always been jealous of Ning Yi, the disobedient, free-spirited one. Mother didn't dislike her because she was stupid. She disliked her because she wouldn't obey. Mother was a control freak, to the point of being sick. We were too young to know back then. We thought control was just another form of love. I was soft-spoken. I did whatever Mother told me. Ning Yi always pretended to obey, then did what she wanted anyway. It infuriated Mother. Ning Yi got beaten a lot because of it. Every morning, Mother picked out our clothes for school. Ning Yi put them on obediently, just like me. But inside her bag, she always had another outfit. The one she actually liked. She would change in the bathroom as soon as she got to school, then change back before going home. She did the same with shoes. She bought her own shoes and hid them in the meter box in the stairwell, changing back before entering the house. Then one day, her teacher posted a class photo in a group chat. That was how she got caught. Mother called the head teacher and screamed at her, calling her useless, worse than an animal. She rushed to the school and demanded Ning Yi be expelled immediately. Ning Yi's head teacher begged her to let Ning Yi finish the lesson. Mother refused. She insisted Ning Yi come down right away. She was waiting at the gate. When the teacher hung up, Ning Yi had already packed her things and stood quietly waiting. Ning Yi said the teacher had spoken up for her, eyes shining with tears as she walked her downstairs. Ning Yi went home in the clothes and shoes she loved. Mother locked her out. I snuck her in at 3 in the morning. She was half asleep, marks from her bag strap pressed into her face. We lay in bed together. I said, "Can't you just obey from now on?" She mumbled sleepily, "I didn't do anything wrong." Mother hated snacks and takeout. She strictly forbade us from touching them. Ning Yi bought them anyway. Once, when Mother was out, she secretly bought 2 ice creams. We hid in our room and ate them together. It was my first time eating ice cream. It was delicious. Unfortunately, I got a sore throat that night. Mother found the ice cream wrapper in the bin. She flew into a rage and almost forced the wrapper into Ning Yi's mouth. Ning Yi got beaten badly, but she didn't learn her lesson. She just became more careful. She walked 2 kilometers to buy snacks, ate them outside the shop, wiped her mouth clean, then came home. I'd only seen the popping candy, spicy strips, and chocolate she talked about. I never got to taste them. Mother treated Ning Yi and me completely differently. She never hit or shouted at me. In Ning Yi's eyes, she was wonderful to me. But every time I questioned her, she would sit in front of me and cry, going on about how hard she worked, how everything was for my own good. I couldn't stand her tears. Whenever she cried, I gave up all my thoughts. I was just too weak, too useless. It was my own fault. We weren't a rich family, but Mother still hired one-on-one tutors for me. While Ning Yi played ball and rode her bike downstairs, I sat by the window watching her. I wanted to play with Ning Yi, but Mother wouldn't let me. I had no holidays. Every weekend, different tutors came to the house. My schedule was full. I had plenty of pocket money, but apart from books and notebooks, I didn't know what to buy. I protested. It made no difference. I only had 2 hours of free time every Sunday afternoon. I would sit on the bench in the community, watching Ning Yi play with the boys. I had no friends. Apart from Mother, there was only Ning Yi. I don't even remember what Father was doing. He always stayed hidden in his study, leaving full control of the family to Mother. Mother argued with Father about divorce at 3 in the morning. When I went to the toilet, she demanded to know who I would choose. I'd caught a cold. My throat was blocked with phlegm. I could barely breathe. But Mother didn't care. She waited for my answer. I said I chose Ning Yi. I wanted to be with Ning Yi. She started screaming that I was ungrateful. I was so scared I ran back to my room. I knew what she wanted to hear, but I refused to say it. That was probably the only brave thing I ever did. Ning Yi was awake when I got back. She held me and told me to ignore them. Let them fight. Ning Yi was the only bright spot in my boring life. I loved how alive she was. Her grades were terrible. She always said the timetable only had one subject, English. Chinese class was English. Maths was English. Physics was English. The teachers spoke a language that sounded completely foreign. Even so, she went to school happily every day. I couldn't do that. Mother spent so much money on my tutoring. I couldn't allow myself to fail. But in truth, my grades got worse and worse. I didn't know why. I didn't hide my exam papers just to spare Ning Yi's feelings. Sometimes I failed too. I was terrified of hearing Mother cry. Mother said I only had to do one thing well. Study. Everything else was taken care of. But I couldn't even do that one thing right. I was afraid to go to school. Afraid to enter the classroom. I started having insomnia every night. My hair fell out in clumps. I accidentally cut my wrist in the bathroom. Blood covered the floor, but I washed it all away. No one ever knew. I thought I had depression. I mentioned to Mother that a girl in our class had depression. She said it was just because they had too much free time. Ning Yi always reminded me to wear my seatbelt. She didn't know I did it on purpose. A small part of me secretly hoped something would happen. Then I wouldn't have to be so tired anymore. This life was so long. When would it ever end? I once had a happy family. A gentle husband, twin daughters, one obedient, one lively. But now I had nothing. Ning Yi refused to forgive me. I didn't even have the right to ask her to. She was never like an An. She only seemed obedient on the surface. Inside, she always had her own ideas. I used to hate her for it. I did so many terrible things just to keep her by my side. I read an An's diary. For the first time, I felt real heartache. I'd always thought an An was perfect, molded exactly how I wanted. I never knew she'd been so unhappy. too scared to speak up. She hadn't liked dresses either. She hadn't liked long hair. She'd wanted to taste ice cream and chocolate. But back then, I only cared about shaping her the way I wanted. I never asked what she wanted. My perfect, obedient Anne had left me in the cruelest way possible. She must have hated me deeply. I lived alone in that empty house. Time seemed to stand still. Ning Yi still went to university. It wasn't the best one. I was the one who destroyed her dream. She'd wanted to go to Tsinghua Academy of Fine Arts. Ning Yi fell in love with that boy, Yang Fan. They got married. They had a lovely little daughter. I went to visit Anne's grave and saw the child. Pink little mouth, so cute and quiet. She noticed me, turned to Ning Yi, and said in a soft voice, "Mummy, that lady is looking at me." Ning Yi didn't look up. She smiled gently. She must have mistaken me for someone else. With that, she carried the little girl and walked away. She didn't glance at me once. I heard Yang Fan call her Ning Ning. Yang Ning? What a beautiful name.